Alright, are you guys ready for this? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Ellie from Elsa's Wholesome Life. This is one of my most requested videos because I opened up about a few issues on Instagram the other day, and yeah, it's time I make this video and address all the questions and hopefully help some of you guys out, because I know even just from my stories I had so many messages from people who were like, oh my god, this has helped me so much, this is what I have, I couldn't work it out for so many years and this all makes sense now. So we'll get into all that down the track. I wanted to create today's video to talk about my skin journey, which includes things such as hormonal acne, fungal acne or melasthesia folliculitis, a bit of a long one, and also perioral dermatitis. I'm starting to work things out and I have a lot to share with you guys, and I just really hope that this video helps some of you out by me sharing things that I've gone through and what I've learned along the way. I am also going to touch on contraception because for us females, this plays a big part in our skin, and I just think it is a topic that needs to be spoken about more. And yeah, I think it would only make sense that I touch on my journey with skin and also touch on my journey with contraception, because it's going to make a lot more sense as we continue. Stick around for the end of this video because I'm going to share with you guys my current morning and night skincare routine, which I use to treat my acne. So grab some snacks or a glass of water and let's get into today's video. So to begin today's video, we are going to have to backtrack back to when I was a teenager. At the ripe old age of 13, I started to break out with lots and lots of pimples. And back then it was mainly in my T-zone areas, so I got a lot of pimples here, on my chin and also on my forehead. And I remember going to school and feeling so self-conscious about it. I always wore makeup to school and I just always felt like everyone was staring at it, and it really hurt my confidence, especially when you're about 13 in high school and trying to figure everything out. I'd already tried products like Proactive and they were just drying and stripping my skin so much. They kind of helped to manage the oil, but they weren't really fixing the core problem that was happening internally. So we went to the GP, and of course, like every other young girl trying to fix their acne, I was put on the oral contraceptive pill, as well as a low-dose antibiotic called doxycycline. Now to begin with, I was put on the pill Yasmin and also Diane. They're both pills that are associated with helping to fix hormonal acne or teenage acne, and like it 100% did. I'm not going to deny the fact that it helped my acne so much. Everything cleared up and I would just have the odd breakout around my cycle, and we weren't really educated on the pros and cons or the consequences of being on the pill or when we should go off it or anything other than just going on it because it's going to give you contraception. It is going to help your skin, and for some people it fixes some of those PMS symptoms. So once my skin had cleared up, I went off the antibiotic and I just stayed on the pill. I think I took about a six month break from it when I was in school, and my acne all came back, so I went back on it. And in my early 20s, I decided I'd give myself another chance to try get off it. This is when I was in university, so I was about between 20 and 24, and I tried to go off the oral contraceptive about 2 or 3 times. Each time it would get to about the 3 to 6 month mark and I just couldn't bear it any longer. My skin would break out like I was a teenager again with this really bad acne, mostly around my jawline. And when you're in your 20s and you go from having really good skin to having acne again, it's really difficult. And I remember just feeling so bad looking in the mirror, and I felt like everyone was constantly looking at it. I would try to like hide my face, cover it up with so much makeup, which was only making things worse. I tried like every little skincare product that I thought would help to fix it, but really what was happening was internal. And each time it got to a couple of months and I just couldn't take it anymore. Back to the GP to try and get something that would help the acne. And they either recommended I go back on the pill, which seemed counterintuitive to what I actually wanted to do, or they recommended that I started taking the antibiotics again. But by the time I finished university at about age 24, I was like, okay, this time I am quitting it. I'm not going to go back on it. I'm going to let my skin just ride the wave and see where I end up. By this stage, I hadn't ever had a normal or natural period since I was in my early teens. So this time I was pretty adamant that I needed to just wait it out as long as it takes, get a regular period, and then things should hopefully sort themselves out. My skin once again went really bad, broke out acne, all those things, and then by about the 6 to 8 month mark I got my period, and then I think 2 months later I got it again, and that's when I went back to the women's centre and decided that I was going to try the copper IUD. So the copper IUD is a natural non-hormone contraceptive method, and they put this into uterine device into uterus. There's no hormones emitted from this IUD, but it does have some side effects which I was later to discover, and that was the next part of my journey. And it worked fine. Obviously I have no children, but no hormones, and my skin was able to balance itself back out because I wasn't using a hormone-based Mirena. But a few things on the copper IUD quickly. Yes, it's natural. Yes, it's contraception. Yes, it's painful going in. Yes, it's painful coming out. Yes, you have very heavy periods. Very heavy. If you've had one, you know what I'm talking about. It's debilitating. And every month that time would come around and I would get excruciating period pain, which I'd never experienced in my life. Excruciating. I would have heavy periods. And as someone who's already been sitting on the low end of an iron deficiency, having a heavy period every month was not something that was going to be healthy for me long term, because I would have to replace that iron every month. And after 2 years, I mean, I gave it 2 years, it's quite a long time, I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. I had a regular period every month, every 28 days or 30 days, my cycle came, which was great, and my skin had cleared up, that was great. I started to have some other skin issues, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, and that's when I thought maybe the copper IUD was causing a copper toxicity in myself, because I had read some things about it. I couldn't find any studies or any proper science about it, but I'd heard some things and I was suspicious that I had a zinc deficiency and a copper toxicity, because they compete for binding and absorption. So I went back to my doctor at the women's centre and told her what I suspected was wrong with me, and we did my bloods and my zinc and copper was all normal. So she wasn't convinced that I had either of these issues. I was supplementing with zinc anyway, and I said, no, I want to get the copper thing out of me and be able to live a normal life. So that was around the start of this year when I moved back to Australia. Our current contraception, Johnny. These are vegan condoms. They are a ethical brand and you can buy them online, and they come totally anonymous. It doesn't have the brand name on them, so you don't have to feel embarrassed picking it up from the post office. I feel so silly. This is the Flow app, and basically you log your period and you can see your cycle, and it can predict when you're going to get your period, and each month as you update it, it repredicts and becomes more accurate. You can also log symptoms and you can monitor those, and it also has all sorts of health insights and quizzes you can do to learn more about your cycle or about anything to do with female hormones and all that fun and exciting stuff. Let's get back to the topic of skin. There isn't really an easy answer for anyone. There's no miracle product that's going to fix your acne. If it's coming from the inside, like, you can hydrate, you can eat really healthy, you can exercise, you can sleep, you can de-stress. All those things are definitely going to help because it is an expression of what's going on inside. But when it is related to your hormones and balancing those, sometimes if you've been on the contraceptive pill for 10 years, you just need to give your body time to get its balance back and to regulate itself. And I know that's not the best thing to hear, but yeah, for me, it was time. It was waiting it out, and it found itself out and cleared. That leads me to the next part of my skin journey. So around about the time when I was in university, I also developed perioral dermatitis. And this is a type of dermatitis that happens around the mouth. And dermatitis is dry, red, itchy, scaly. So I started getting it in university and I wasn't too concerned about it because I just always put it down to stress. And so when I finished uni or went on holidays, it kind of just solved itself. About a year ago, it started to pop up again. And this was around about the time of my wedding. So I was getting pretty paranoid that it was going to be flared up around that time. And I'd tried steroid creams, and steroid creams just made it come back more fierce. It would resolve it within a couple of days, completely gone, and then it would just come back like roaring fire, like itchy and red. I tried using certain soaps and different face products, or just avoiding putting any products on it at all, which definitely helped to keep it less aggravated, and nothing was seeming to make it go away. That's when I decided to go see a dermatologist to try and find out if there was anything that they could give me topically to fix it. So I was prescribed with an antibiotic, entering doxycycline. So I was given doxy to take again to help clear up the perioral dermatitis. And she said it should also get rid of my acne because I was still having this other acne issue coming that it didn't feel like it was hormonal, but I just had all these like pimples and bumps and little white heads, and I was just a bit concerned about it. And so the dermatologist said that the antibiotics will fix all of those things. So I took the antibiotics and my perioral dermatitis went away straight away. It was clear. However, when I took the antibiotic, the other issues on my skin, the other pimples and bumps came in full force, like tripled within maybe a day or two. And that's when I started to sort of become more aware of what was triggering these other pimples. When I came off the keto diet, which I was doing last year and when I started YouTube, like presented as though all these little pimples all over my chest, back and face, and they were tiny little white dots, but everywhere. So I thought it was a reaction to eating certain types of sugars too quickly because I'd been in a ketogenic state. When I went over on a trip overseas to Singapore, I got sick and run down with the flu, and I was covered in them on my chest and my face. Thinking back to all these other triggers and when it had all started, and it all had started while I was living over in Bali, which by nature is much more hot and humid than Australia. I'd tried hydrating more, I'd tried Vitex, other herbal supplements, I tried eating cleaner, eating lower carb, eating higher fat. I tried all these different anti-acne products, antibiotics. I considered going back on the pill, exercising more, cleaning my skin more. I literally felt like I had tried everything until I found what the problem was. So I started to do some more digging and some more research, and that is when I came across fungal acne, or formerly known as Malassezia folliculitis. So Malassezia folliculitis is a type of acne caused by fungi or yeast. So naturally we have these yeasts on our skin, and they're actually in the hair follicles of our skin. And we normally have a healthy balance of yeast and bacteria. And sometimes that balance gets thrown off and we have an overgrowth of the yeast or the fungi. And that's when you get the Malassezia folliculitis. And when I came across this and started researching all the causes and triggers and anything related to it, literally everything came together. Everything made sense. Things like antibiotics kills off the bacteria and causes the yeast to overpopulate. Things like high sugar diets or candida is related to yeast. Things like being in hot, humid, sweaty environments and not showering directly after exercising. Your immune system getting down. Certain products and oils on your skin can cause it to flare up because the yeast feeds off certain fats and oils. So how can you tell that it is a fungal acne and not bacterial acne? Well, firstly, the pimples will present as tiny bumps, and sometimes they're red, sometimes mostly they are white. And the ones on my forehead presented as little dry lumps, and the ones on my face presented as tiny little white heads. So kind of like little pin prick pus dots. That sounds a bit gross, but that's what it is. Luckily, they're tiny and not really noticeable to most people's eyes from afar. It is also typically itchy, so if you have had thrush, ladies, we've all had it, it's itchy. Similarly, when we have a yeast infection on the skin, it's itchy. So you may not realize, but if you are scratching or touching your face or brushing it quite often, it could be a sign that it is fungal acne. Another thing is that it will not respond to typical acne treatments or bacterial acne treatments such as benzoyl peroxide. So if you've tried all these acne products and not had much luck, it could be fungal acne. Also, unlike hormonal acne, it doesn't respond at certain times of our cycle and it will present in different places. Hormonal acne typically affects us around our jawline for some reason, and bacterial acne seems to affect oily or sweaty places. So for me, it's my forehead. I get it a lot on my cheeks, around here where I get quite oily, as well as on my chest and these shoulder parts here, which I think is related to sweating at the gym or wearing occlusive clothing. This fungi likes to feed on certain fats, such as fatty acids with a carbon chain length of 11 to 24. So that is typically in oils like coconut oil and olive oil. Esters, which are a fatty acid of that chain length plus an alcohol, and also polysorbates. There are, however, 3 safe oils that you can use, and that is MCT oil, mineral oil, and squalane oil. So there's a lot of products that this incorporates, and that is why I am going to show you my routine and the products that I do use, because they are products that are safe and that I have been using for the last 6 months with success. Finally, I had some answers and I felt so relieved because I finally knew what was causing these other breakouts. That is when I started on my new skincare routine, which treats and has gotten rid of my fungal acne. I can't explain how happy I am because finally I found out what it was that was causing me this acne for like a year. There is some really great resources online. I found some other YouTube videos that are really in-depth if you want to go into the chemical side of things with the melasthesia folliculitis. I'm going to link those below, so make sure you go watch them because there's some really great resources, as well as a blog that goes through all the different products and types of fats and things that you should be avoiding. But next, I'm going to show you guys my simple routine of what I use and what's worked for me. And I think if this relates to you, you're going to find this so helpful, and yeah, hopefully like me, you can have some answers to your issues.